So the other day we went ahead and we posted about how we've been doing diagnostics for a long time and we've always charged for it. And really what we're talking about is the value that's perceived by that. Early on, when we had set up our diagnostic repair shop only, we got a call from somebody back in Chicago area. It was a consumer actually. And he was asking about if it was fair for somebody to charge $80 to do a diagnostics. And when we had finished talking to him, we realized that no, it wasn't fair back then. This was 20 years ago to get a diagnostics done and just pull codes. You have to build a value with the diagnostics, not only to mention that, but that when you do this diagnostics and you go through this process, you're going to find out things that you need to dig deeper into the vehicle. And to find out about 85% of the time, we've been able to find out what the problems are or which avenue we need to go down to finish that diagnostics off. Now, remember, after the diagnostics, we do a block of time. From that point, at the end of that, we understand that, oh, about an hour, or maybe we're going to a carbon clean or something like that. To get the car fixed. 85% of the time we're finding cars are running a lot better and sometimes taking care of the issue by just doing a carbon clean, especially on these GDIs. So let's get to what we do with the diagnostic chart. One of the first things is TSBs, reflash, and recalls. Come on, we got to know that cars are born broke. They never like that. I wrote articles years ago for the papers and it really infuriated the dealerships near me when I had written that article, but it is the truth. And if you're not looking there first for TSBs or recalls or reflash, you're going to waste your time, you're going to waste the customer's money, and nobody's going to be happy at the end of the day. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, of course, we know if we have an engine mechanical issue, there's going to be all sorts of problems. So we need to know and understand, as a lot of us have been in the industry long enough, we can tell if it's got a miss. We can tell a lot of things by just the listening of it. I leaned up against the door of my son's Ford pickup one day, brand new pickup, and I could feel a light miss in it. And we did some research on it to find out that they have a light miss in it, and they had taken the light off with a software update so that you didn't have the light coming on, but in fact, he could feel it, drove him nuts. It still drives him nuts to this point, that it still has a really, really light miss, but yet no lights coming on. So after we do that TSB and we know the engine mechanical is good, where should we start? What about your heart? What's the heart of the system? The heart of the system is a battery. If your battery and alternator aren't working correctly, you're going to have all sorts of problems. If you've got bad grounds there, if you've got dirty terminals, if you've got a bad battery, there's a lot of things that are going to happen. And then as you saw on that diagnostic sheet, we always like to look at where the idle is, where the throttle plate is, TPS, whatever you want to call it, for all the different things that we've seen. We want to know where that's at. That starts giving us a correlation. Now, keep in mind, when you use a diagnostic chart and you start filling out these things, what you'll find out is you'll get familiar with where things should be, so that when something's not right, you're going to go, whoa, that doesn't look quite right. Well, once we leave that point, we need to know about the coolant temp sensor, and we need to know about the intake air temperature. We've all seen it, been to a lube shop. They took the air cleaner out, put it back in. That IAT was hanging down there near the exhaust and was showing hundreds of degrees in temperature, which throws everything off again too. Then how about looking at the mass airflow? We want to make sure what's going on there. Some of us remember the days when we used to take those bad boys off and clean that little hot wire out there, because that would affect what the PCM is seeing on airflow. And if it doesn't show that there's a lot of airflow, it's not going to give it any fuel, guys. We know that. Next thing we like to look at is the map to see with the engine not running. We want to see the pressure inside the intake manifold. We want to see what's going on. Barometric pressure, pretty important too, especially at different elevations. Customers traveling from California up to the Uintas, different types of things there to look at. RPM and crank, fastest way to see what's going on. You ever had a no start and wondered what to do? First thing we do is we plug in, we crank it. We want to see if we've got RPMs when we're cranking it. If we don't, then we know where we got to start looking. Variable timing, that's a new one. And we're seeing more of it. Can be one of these issues and not set a code. So we want to look at that. I'm still an idle air control guy. I know we're on the old ones. I really love that one. I sold a ton of carbon cleans off of that by pulling the snorkel off and showing the customer the filth in there by running my finger through and saying, this is what the inside of your car looks like. And then the oxygen sensor, the most oversold component in America that people think will fix cars, and it doesn't, because in reality, we all know it's the tattletale to the whole system. Now, we'll get in some classes down the road where we'll break down each component and go through those individually. But this is a good start for you to learn. One of the things that we need to look at too, I like to look at, is the short-term fuel trim, which was years ago the integrator. We want to see where that is. And then we do want to see where the long-term fuel trim is. And then if we have any EVAP codes. And then from that point, we always like to do a fuel pump analysis. And by doing that, yeah, you can use a gauge on some cars and look at pressure, and then maybe have a gauge that checks for your volume. But the easiest way really is to find the fuse, get in there and amp wrap the bad boy and see exactly where it is. The beauty of what we do with our diagnostics is we find the problems, we show the value in what we're charging the customer, and it makes our life a lot better at the end of the day, because we go through the complete thing. We know from that point where we need to be. And guys, here's what happens. You're charging, or should be charging, an hour to an hour and a half of your regular time. So let's use the easy number of $100. So if you're $100, I would be charging probably about $125 for the diagnosis. Well, guess what I do at 45 minutes? I stop. And what you're going to find out is that by the time you start using this chart and going through it, and you have everything together, you can be done on this vehicle within 30 minutes. So now you created a block of time that is like money in the bank for you for other things, whether it's diagnostics, whether it's dealing with a customer or something else. We'll talk about that too in the future as far as efficiencies and the things that we can do. But diagnostics can be done efficiently. We ran 112 to 117% efficient just doing diagnostics. So go ahead and sign up and join our group that we have, Mechanic Alliance, or check us out at the website, mechanicalliance.com, or look at our hashtag, better wages for mechanics. Have a great day.